Getting the most out of Arma Reforger's loadouts can feel extremely overwhelming. With the sheer number of options to pick from, not wanting to use too many resources but still be effective on the battlefield, it's tough building a well-balanced kit. Today I'm going to detail my top 3 loadouts that should cover most of your Reforger needs, plus some of those hidden details that'll give you a little bit of an edge over the competition. Now, the first loadout I want to talk about is the most important, and it's going to be your basic infantryman. You can use this role at the start of the match, evolve it over the course of the game, and it's best at attacking and securing objectives. The core of this kit is an assault rifle that can do good damage at most ranges and enough resources to keep yourself alive and in the fight for an extended period of time. You don't want to eat up too many supplies from your team. You want to be able to support your team by capturing objectives, and you can build upon this kit as you rank up and unlock more items. So if you're playing on the Russians, the AK-47 is the go-to, and for US, the M16A2 assault rifle. These are the starting guns for both factions, and they cost next to nothing in terms of supplies. But don't underestimate them, they're incredibly capable at most ranges. Switching to semi-auto provides great accuracy at range. As your secondary, you'll want an RPG for the Russians or an M320 grenade launcher for the US. You could opt for the M72A3 Law rocket launcher for the US, but it's a one and done launcher, meaning you can't reload it, which is why I prefer a grenade launcher instead. A well-placed grenade can be very effective in most of the same situations as a rocket launcher. And having some sort of explosive option in your kit is essential for dealing with vehicles and building campers. Early on in a match, being able to take out enemy supply trucks and clear objectives is an absolute must. They are, however, one of the more expensive parts of your kit, so try to avoid a surplus of ammunition when you pick them. And be mindful of spawning in smaller or remote bases with tons of explosives, since they're going to eat up the very limited supplies that are there. Now, the Russians also get 2 packages specifically for RPG rounds that let you carry 2 extra rounds. If you really need to take out some vehicles, this backpack here is a great way of extending your combat effectiveness. As a quick tip, the various backpacks and chest rigs do serve more than just cosmetic purposes. Chest rigs can hold more ammo for the role that they're intended for, so the sniper chest rig can hold more sniper magazines. They also supposedly negate the weight of whatever you store in them, giving you more stamina and slightly faster movement. So if you're using an assault rifle, you'd want the automatic rifleman rig to hold more magazines. That said, chest rigs in general aren't a vital thing that you need. They're just nice to have in case you want to carry a little more ammo for your chosen gun. Now, the default loadout in Reforger includes 2 bandages, morphine, a tourniquet, 2 explosive grenades, and 2 smoke grenades, plus ammo for your gun, a map, a bayonet knife, a compass, a radio, and a flashlight. Beyond those items, you generally don't need any additional gadgets for this role. One major tip for players on the Russian faction, though, is that your grenades have a unique arming sound that is a dead giveaway for both position and faction. Whenever I'm playing Russians, I'll always stop and grab grenades off of the US soldiers to give me a bit of an advantage in combat. The US grenades are quieter to arm, so the sound won't be an immediate giveaway. Plus, if the US soldiers hear a US grenade arm, they're less likely to think that an enemy's about to throw one at them. Now, as the match wears on and you start to rank up, you're going to want to consider some additional gear for this kit. I personally find the magnified assault rifle optics harder to use since the effects of recoil are much worse with them, so I'd upgrade to a simple red dot sight for extending your effective range. Unfortunately, the Russians don't get red dots or low magnification optics, so I mostly just stick with the irons. Now, one of the most important upgrades and most effective gadgets in this game is a suppressor. The second you fire an unsuppressed weapon in Arma, everyone around you is going to be able to zero in on your position. The guns are loud and the sound propagates for hundreds of meters. So when both teams are firmly dug into their bases and they start launching serious attacks, suppressors become a vital tool in taking out multiple targets. A great example is the military training area base on Arland. It's a coastal base that has a rock face overlooking the entire area. A team setting up on the ridgeline with suppressed weapons can fire into the base without instantly giving away their position. This gives them a huge advantage, where without suppressors, you're basically announcing your position with your only cover being that ridgeline itself. With a suppressor, you can be a mere 20 yards from an enemy shooting at them, and you'll hear them cry out in panic and try and figure out where the fire is coming from.
Get in here. I don't know. I tried a log, maybe.
It's just a night and day difference. The final essential gadget for infantry players is the deployable radio. Like I said, the goal of your role is to attack and secure objectives. The radio acts as a mobile, fast travel point that you can place anywhere on the map. If your team is attacking an enemy-held objective, place a radio somewhere nearby that has a supply depot. This will let anyone on your team use the map to fast travel to the radio or spawn on it with their customized loadout. And this is a huge advantage for your team that allows you to keep up the momentum of an attack. Playing a match where somebody puts down a radio and it basically gives you the ability to attack objectives you otherwise would have never gotten anywhere close to. Now, the next top role that I naturally gravitated towards was Sniper. Sniping in Reforger is one of the best ways to drain an enemy base of their supplies. If you're good at it, you can set up somewhere that gives you a good sight line into a base, allowing you to kill multiple enemies without you dying yourself, forcing the other team to eat into all of their supplies. You can also take out enemies as they're entering vehicles, essentially denying them access to their own trucks and helicopters. Now, unfortunately, and probably for good reason, neither faction's sniper rifles can be suppressed. The US gets the M21 marksman rifle and the Russians get an SVD. Now, for the most part, I'll stick with the default ammo. The M21's default ammo has a slower muzzle velocity of 790 meters a second versus 856 you can get with armor piercing or FMJ rounds. In terms of damage to the target, there isn't too much of a difference, but being able to shave off a few tenths of a second from your lead time can be nice for longer range targets. Usually I'll just stick with the default ammo, and I think it's better to practice with a specific type of ammo and get a feel for how much lead time you need. But at the same time, pistols are borderline useless in Reforger. My advice is, if you're staying alive for longer stretches and you want to remain stealth, get an AKS-74U or an M16 carbine with a suppressor as your secondary weapon. These are compact full auto assault rifles that don't offer quite as much range as the starter rifles, but they have a nice rate of fire for close quarter gunfights. But only take a couple of mags for your ammo so you're not overloading the supply cost with additional ammo, since the main purpose of this kit is to stay on the outskirts and not get up close in the action. Hopefully you won't need too much of it. Now, it can be a little tricky getting the hang of being effective as a sniper in Arma Reforger, and if you're not doing a good job, well, then you're just costing your team tickets. So I've got a few tips that helped me kind of elevate my game. In my opinion, the biggest challenge for this class is that your main weapon is not suppressed. So once you open fire, you are giving away your position, and you'll have to move around a lot to keep the enemies from dialing in on you. Keeping a really high distance to your target can help with this, but you'll also have to understand how to dial in your aim. Both rifles have an optic option with a built-in rangefinder. The SVD's is pretty straightforward. The 1.7 line at the bottom of the left scope should be placed at the enemy's feet. The angled marks above the line indicate the range when they're just above the enemy's head. So if the line is at the enemy's feet and the range line over their head is 4, you can set the zeroing on the rifle to 400 meters, and your shots will land pretty close to center of the scope, give or take a few meters. For the M21 scope, the bottom dot below the center crosshair is designed to measure at 1 meter. So zoom in until the dot is lined up with the enemy's waistline. Whatever the magnification is on the scope, multiply it by 100, and that's how far the target is in meters. So if the dot is at the waistline of a target at 4x magnification, zero the rifle to 400 meters, and you should, in theory, be able to start landing headshots from that distance. To mitigate your weapon sway, just rest your rifle with the C key, that's A on Xbox and X on PlayStation, while prone or near cover you can shoot over. You can even do this on a friendly soldier, which can be useful in a pinch. Now, the third role, in my opinion, is one of the more important ones you can play if you're effective with it, but it really requires the proper mindset, and that is the medic. The real value of medics in Reforger is helping your team preserve supplies and allowing your team to stay in a fight for longer. Every player you heal back up to full health is potentially an entire loadout's worth of supplies that you saved. It also saves the time it would take to run or drive all the way back to where the player died, allowing your team to keep up their momentum. This is especially important when spawning near bases with limited supplies. Medics can be instrumental in extending those bases' effectiveness. The medic is also sort of a stepping stone to deeper mechanics in Reforger. For instance, the actual weapons you carry are less important than the type of vehicle you use. Using a medical kit near an ambulance or field hospital allows you to fully heal all injuries. The ambulance is also the only vehicle you can heal teammates in. You will, however, need to add supplies from a base or supply depot for the ambulance to work, but assuming that it's got enough supplies, you can tend to your teammates' injuries for quite a while. As for weapons, gear, and supplies, I'd recommend carrying a suppressed carbine and avoid shooting as much as possible. Only take a few magazines. It'll help keep you in the right mindset of healing and not engaging. I'd also recommend swapping out your frag grenade for a couple of extra smoke grenades to help conceal injured players. When it comes to medical supplies like bandages, morphine, and saline bags, you can get them from the main base tent and field hospitals, but the medical kit comes with plenty, so just grab that and put it in a medical backpack or ambulance trunk. As long as the medical kit is placed near supplies, you can pull out basically an unlimited amount of bandages and other medical items, which is way better than eating up backpack space to carry them. Now, I did a pretty in-depth guide on healing in a previous video, but in a nutshell, you want to start from head to toe bandaging injuries. If you have a saline bag available, use that first. Once all wounds are bandaged, apply a shot of morphine to help alleviate any negative effects from the injuries and move on to the next casualty. And like many of the more mechanics-driven roles in Reforger, the medic is less about dunking on your opponents in combat and more about supporting your teammates as much as possible. So avoiding combat tends to be the best practice. Only do it when you're caught in a pinch or you have to try and save a teammate or something like that. Otherwise, you really want to be focusing on staying behind the front lines and moving around to where you're most needed to help teammates. Now, those are my top loadouts that I use the most regularly. They can evolve as much as you need them to, and as you get more experience with them, you can cater them more towards your playstyle if you tend to prefer certain weapons over others. The biggest thing to keep in mind is cost versus return. Arma is a game of economics as much as it is skill, so if you're costing your own team more than you're actually helping them, you may want to rethink some of your loadout strategies. Scavenging supplies on a battlefield is also one of my favorite ways to improve my kit on the cheap. Start off basic and work your way up to a top tier kit. I hope these loadout suggestions help you refine your Arma kits and become a better team player. Let me know if you'd like to see more Arma guides from me, and if you haven't seen my Arma Basics guide, check it out next, as there's a lot of nuance to this game that you could easily miss. I probably have missed some of it. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop me a like, subscribe for more content like it, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.